welcome to Nova Scribes. Nova Scribe is a free and open forum for visual practitioners to share their knowledge. We are anyone who uses visuals to move others, consultants, facilitators. Those type of people use visuals, graphic recorders, scribes, sketch noters, and other type of skill sets. We're an all volunteer organization. Anyone who wants to join can be an organizer. And tonight I have the privilege to introduce you to Dean Waye. Dean is one of those people who figures out the first thing ad agencies and companies should say when they talk to potential customers. He's done this for over 300 companies on 6 continents and recently wrote a book to help people do it for themselves. Today, he's going to show us the question he asked to figure out the right angle for your story. And for the proceeds for tonight, he's going to donate those to the White Thorn Foundation, a charity which we support, which provides art education and scholarships to Indigenous people. And with that, Dean, I love turning this over to you. We've known each other for quite a while now, and I'm looking forward, as always, to learning from your wisdom. Dean?
When we met, you didn't yet have my hairstyle. Well, it's been a big change. So hello, I'm Dean. I have what can sound like a very dumb job. And that is that I spend a lot of time imagining what a stranger would be interested in for a client who wants me to make that stranger interesting, or at least try to tap into what that stranger would be interested in. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about how to do 90% of the sort of thinking and feeling on behalf of that usually reader. Let's just call them all readers, although there's videos and stuff. So I do 90% of the feeling and thinking on behalf of that reader, and then I write something. A headline, an ad, a homepage, a landing page, emails, something, where most of the work's been done for them. It's analogous to on a first date where one partner sort of leans in 90% of the way for the first kiss at the end of the night, so that the other person only has to make a very small decision. Like, do I want to lean in that last 10% or do I want to turn away? And so it's my job to sort of do the 90% for that kind of stuff. And the problem that I am hired to solve the most is that people don't have an angle. They don't have a halo niche. They don't have a reason why anyone should ever care about what they do or sell. And so I try to create that for companies. And so I'm just going to do a spoiler up front. There is only one irresistible marketing story. And this is what I tell clients. Like I said, if you want to try to make people sit still so that you can talk about yourself, that is an enormously difficult and expensive way to go. Whereas if you want to talk to people about themselves and tell them their own story, but figure out a novel or urgent way to put yourself in it, it is far easier and almost always more effective. So I'm going to go over how I get to that sort of urgent novel thing. But before we get to urgent or novel, I kind of have to point to a fact that I did not believe it the first time that I saw it. And I went all over just to double check. And it's that. Did anybody here actually know that? And in case you're one of the people who now believes ChatGPT instead of Google for your answers, it's the same answer. It's even worse, 99.82%, which means that all of the brains that I'm writing to have spent all but the last fraction of a percentage of their evolution in the Stone Age. And that is, so basically they're walking around with brains optimized for very few things and nothing more important than just keeping that person alive. Everything else is secondary, right? And so it can be enormously difficult to live in the 99%, which is where I have to work. It's so hard that in both of these, this is one of the reasons why we can get sort of hooked by optical illusions. This is not supposed to be an optical illusion, by the way. It just happens to point out the difficulty of the job, in that you can't help but look at the one differently colored dot. I originally made the graphic just to show that only one of those dots, there's 100 dots in every square, only one of those dots represents the part of our brain that, we're now evolved into. And the other 90%, 99% is everything else that came before. And yet I can't stop from looking at the differently colored dots. That's how like powerful this kind of stuff is, and that I have to sort of accept. Most companies, especially the smaller the business, there are like, untold number of specializations in marketing. And my specialty is writing the first thing anyone's ever going to read about that product or company. The challenge is every one of my clients starts off by trying to live just in the 1%. It's like, yeah, well, we want to talk about our white papers, and we want to talk about the technology, and we want to talk about the features, and we want to talk about how hard it was to make it. And I used to be a software developer. We used to have a joke, obviously, self-deprecating joke that said, if the software was hard to make, it should be hard to use. Who are all these people telling us we need to make it easier? It's ridiculous. Don't I know how hard this is? But you can't help it. They all want to live in the 1%. It's very natural for us to want to operate in the 1%. We want to talk about science. We want to talk about tech. We want to talk about art and 3D and everything. It doesn't matter, right? All of that has to exist just in that little 1%. And then all of the 99%, the part that's keeping us alive and like is sensitive to changes in the environment and all kinds of stuff. That's where I get to live. It's a really open space. I don't even have a lot of competitors really, because everybody wants to live in the 1%. And it's sort of like, why? Why would you want to be in that tiny, tiny swimming pool? So, yeah, we could pull it, other than the fact that they wouldn't understand English, we could pull anybody from the last couple of million years and plop them down in front of your Gmail inbox, and they're going to assess those first 20 emails on your page the same way that you do, consciously or unconsciously. First, you're going to look for anything urgent, right? Anything that looks like it's from your boss, or anything that looks like it's from your spouse, or you may have missed this appointment, or there's a calendar, like, reminder of something, right? And then you're going to look for anything that's novel or distracting, or maybe you only got 11 minutes until your next meeting, but you know that newsletter tends to be kind of funny. So I'll open that now. It doesn't matter. And then everything else might require some attention, but you can postpone it because it's going to require focused attention, and you don't have that much time right now. So you're going to like postpone that for a bit, and then everything else you basically ignore. It's no different than someone a million years ago walking into a part of a forest they've never seen, right? First, they're looking for anything dangerous, which is their version of urgent. They're going to look for anything different, which is our version of novel, right? That tree wasn't there, or, there shouldn't be anything moving over there. And then, or this doesn't smell or look the way that it did like 2 days ago when I was here, and I'm not sure I should eat it anymore. And then there's stuff like, I should really come back sometime and look at that. That's kind of interesting. I don't know how to deal with it right now. And everything else is just background, right? It's just leaves. We haven't like come very far. Or the way I tell it to people, like, everyone focuses on the 1% and not the 99%. Like, don't flatter yourself. We're all the 99%, and the 1% is just a little tiny bit of like a little tiny bow on it. So knowing that, you're not going to be surprised that when I come to a client, the first thing they're trying to figure out is, what do I want to say? And Dean, how should I say it? How should I word it? How should I rephrase it? And that is the wrong approach, because you can spend a lot of time writing something. It doesn't mean anyone's ever going to want to read it. For me, I have to figure out some way to make it urgent or novel. It's almost always novel, by the way. There's very few things in business that's like legitimately urgent that I could ever write about. Like, advertising is not urgent, no matter how much they yell at you. Right. And then, do I care about this? And the do I care about this part is, and we've all experienced this, you start reading something, you weren't, kind of caught your attention, you weren't quite sure about, anywhere from 3 or 4 seconds to a minute in, like your heart asks your brain, like, do we care about this? Like, they do a gut check kind of thing. And the gut says, I don't care about this. And everyone else says, I don't care about it either. And you're out. Right? You don't even finish reading like third paragraph. You're out. Right. And so my job is to get the attention with something urgent or novel, and then pass the gut check a few seconds or a minute or so into it. It's a dumb job. I want to reiterate that. But it is what it is. The trick is, almost everybody, when I come into a situation and they've had their marketing for a while, they're all on the left-hand side, which is to say they want the reader to do most of the work. You've experienced this. If you've ever read anything, And somehow, even though you don't even really know this company or this product or service, whatever, they're sort of depending on you to figure out if it's applicable to you, if it's interesting to you, if now is the right time for you, is this suitable for you, right? And is this something that you should like make a decision on? They put all of that stuff onto you. And then when I'm done, it looks like the one on the right, where virtually everything is done for that reader. And it kind of has to be because we're in a world of endless distraction. And, I basically like combat against distraction all the time. And what I put on the bottom there, I mean, I don't know anything truer than that. Nobody cares how long it took you to write that blog post or web page or email or whatever. They don't care. They care how hard it is to read. And so you have to do it's a really weird equation. Basically, if you imagine that there's you and a reader and you each have 100%, you're responsible for 100% of your stuff and 90% of their stuff. So you own 190% of that whole thing and they own 10%. And if you take your eye off that ball, they stop wanting to work for you because, why should they put in any emotional or time or, attention investment? So, how do you write that story? There are 4 questions that cover almost all scenarios. If you're willing to if you're willing to ask these questions as if you're the stranger talking and having conversation back to the person who has something to say or the company that has something to sell. And the number 1 of those is, why are you safe? So this is what's called the safety question. And there are 2. There's one for when you sell to consumers or anyone, even in a business, but they can pull out a Visa card or whip up a purchase order. You're talking to one person who has purchase authority. And there's a different safety question if you're trying to sell to a company. And that just means that like that whoever's reading it, there's somebody else. There's at least somebody else who would have to buy in on that. There's a manager, a board, a CEO, investors, legal department, procurement, whatever, right? Steering committee. So if you're talking to consumers, the safety question is, how do I know I won't regret this purchase? Because nobody wants to have that awkward conversation about with their spouse, like, oh man, like why did you spend money on what? And then on the flip side, and this is a bit trickier, but like it can be very useful, is for business, the safety question is, how do I know it's safe for me to vouch for you to my manager? Because you're almost never talking when you're writing this kind of stuff. You're almost never talking to someone who can make a final decision. And no matter how much money your company might save their company or how much money your company might make their company, it's not worth their income. It's not worth them being embarrassed at work. It's not worth them losing reputation points or getting knocked off a promotion track or being taken less seriously if you don't deliver, right? If it turns out that your stuff's not actually very good, or you're the first, they'd be the first customer you ever had, or anything like that. And so I work mostly in B2B. Like we sell, my clients sell to other businesses. And so how do I know it's safe for me to vouch for that for to my manager is the core question. I might not ever use it in what I write for them, but I have to be able to imply it so that they'll infer it, even if I don't actually say it. And passing the safety question doesn't even get them the sale. It just means they get invited into a meeting, right? They're going to look at 5 vendors. 2 of them are going to pass the safety test, maybe 3, and they're going to invite those 3 companies in to talk to them in person. So you don't even get to the table unless you can answer the safety question. The next one is, why can you help me forget? Because there's nobody who has a problem, whether it's a business or a consumer, who wouldn't like to be able to forget about it, at least for a while, with the knowledge and comfort that someone else is actually tackling it for them and getting it done. Whether you bought a product that's going to do it for you, or a washing machine or a dishwasher are great examples of, like, they help you forget your dish problem for a while, right? You have to load it up and then you have to unload them when it's done. But while it's working on it, you don't have a dish problem anymore, right? And that's nice. And so if you're a vendor or like a professional or a creative, a freelancer, like basically you're saying, I can make it easy for you to deal with this or even forget about it for a while because I'm on it. I'm going to take care of this for you. And then a lot of my work is spent contrasting what's called the negative present and the positive future. So if the present isn't negative, there's no problem to solve and nobody cares what you sell or what you do. And so the promise of every solopreneur and freelancer and business period is you're in a negative present. We will shortcut you to a positive future if you give us money. We just don't say the last part out loud. That's the quiet part. But everyone kind of understands what's happening, right? And so you need to have an understanding of what their positive future would look like so you can describe it to them. They might not know what their positive future would actually look like, but you need to know what their positive future would look like. So far we've had the safety question. Why is it easy to forget about my problem once I hand it over to you? And what does my, positive future look like? And so that takes us to I missed one more, but that was our core four. And then there are two sort of modifiers to this. One of them is what's your angle or what box are you in? So I usually tell the story of the horse lady here. So imagine that you are going to find your first ever psychiatrist or mental health therapist or coach or whatever it's going to be, right? And so you do whatever it is you would do, mostly go online somewhere and start looking at them. And the next day your friend says, so like, how's it going? How's the search for, your therapist? And you say, it's pretty good. I narrowed it down to, I think, 5 people right now. 4 of them, you go to their office and you sit in a chair and they sit in another chair and they ask you questions and you talk about yourself. That seems to be how it works. I've never been in therapy if you're this character in this story. But so you're looking for your first therapist. And so they're like, that was 4 of them. And then there was the horse lady. And for the horse lady, you drive out to this nearby farm and she puts you on a really gentle horse. And she gets on a horse too. And then both of the horses sort of walk really slowly down a path and she asks you questions and you talk about yourself. Now, they sell the exact same service, all 5 of these therapists, but 4 of them get amalgamated into one, and the horse lady gets her own category, right? So I like these 4, you do this, and then there's the horse lady. And let's say that like those 5 therapists are all the therapists in one area, right? If anyone's going to get therapy, it's going to be one of them. Having an angle doesn't mean that the horse lady gets the bulk of the business. She's like 1/5, so by default she should get about 20, but she'll probably get like 24 or 26 or 27%, which for most businesses is enough to take them from like getting by to being very profitable. And so the horse lady has an angle, and an angle is just you do the same thing as everyone else, but you do it in a different way, and a way that makes sense to the person you're talking to. An angle is so valuable. It's if you have a good enough angle, then you can avoid spending an awful lot of time and money sort of promoting and advertising yourself because your angle will spread. It's one of the only ways that word of mouth can be reliably leveraged in marketing, is that there's an angle, there's a built-in story that other people can pass along without kind of knowing you or needing details about your business. So one of the things you try to get to is, what box or category are you in? What's your angle? And then the other one is, why are you at the top? Like, what's your halo niche? So for most of my clients, they don't have any kind of halo niche, but here's an example of someone who would. Let's say you're a knee surgeon, and obviously anybody who needs knee surgery, you help them out, but you also happen to be the preferred knee surgeon for, the area's professional athletes. In that case, a lot of businesses, a lot of freelancers and so on, you ask them what they do, or you ask them like, who they work with. They'll usually tell you 2 kinds of customers or more, right? Almost everyone serves 2 markets. And in some cases, one of them is a halo market and the other is not, which is to say, in this case with the knee surgeon, Joe the plumber might feel safer and prefer to go to this knee surgeon because this is the one that all the professional athletes like to use. The professional athletes don't really choose their knee surgeon based on Joe the plumber, and people like him also preferring that vendor. So like there's one market that the other market is impressed by. It almost never goes both ways. So it's only one directional. And so that's a built-in halo niche. And a lot of my work in that case is just helping the business understand that they have a halo niche. They just don't lead with it. And then the other kind of halo niche is where you have 2 or even 3 kinds of markets, and neither one of them is particularly impressive to the other. And in that case, I'm usually paid to create what's called a synthetic halo niche, which is to say something that is impressive to each of the three markets. It might be completely new, like I might have had to make it up, right? But it needs to be easy to communicate and understand, but it's completely synthetic. Like, and then each one of those sort of markets, as they come in on that message, let's say it's like a homepage or something, each one of them, when they come in, they think that that message is just for them and they're impressed by it. Like it makes them feel good. It's like, I'm going to keep reading. This is my place. These are my people, right? This is what I've been looking for. This is what I need to be happy. This gets me to my positive future. So you either have a built-in market, maybe you're like, people who are freelancers, I do this kind of work here and I also do this other kind of work. It doesn't matter if like one of them is most of your work. It doesn't matter if the halo niche is like very little of your work. If it's at all exotic or rare or complicated, then that typically would be your halo niche, because it's like, okay, well, if she can do that, she can definitely do the stuff I need her for. That's another example of using a halo niche for that. So either you have one market that would be impressive to another, or you do something that would be, or make up a category that would be impressive to people, and then they sort of come in on it. But you really can't do without an angle and a halo niche. And the safety question. You can get by without necessarily promising that something's going to be very easy for your buyer or your client. If you have those other three in place, you can get by with sort of the impact that you're going to make. Also great. But, sort of a positive future. You're going to live in that positive future. Big impact. I'm going to like obliterate that problem for you, right? You can even get by without necessarily leading with that, but you really can't lead without having the safety question in place, your answer for it. And then at a minimum, one of those two, either an angle or a halo niche. A halo niche is kind of an angle, I guess. Once all that's done, it's easy. As long as you sound right. Right? You cannot go at them, like I said, with this attitude of sit still. I'm going to talk about my company. Lucky you. You got out of bed for this. Not likely. But there are a couple of aspects around this. One is the tone spectrum. Um, I don't normally, well, I mean, I find lots of boring stuff, but that's probably just me thinking it's boring. Any kind of humor, especially in B2B, always comes off as cheesy. I tell people, as funny as it sounds in your head, once it hits the air and the sunlight, it will not seem funny anymore. I promise you, don't do that. But most companies will stay away from aggressive, which is good because aggressive turns everyone off. But the vast majority of all marketing and advertising and all communications from companies is in the don't hurt me stage, right? It's like people forget that assertive exists between don't hurt me and aggressive. Don't hurt me is, you'll see where there's a lot of passive voice being used, a lot of verbs with ing or s, even in a headline. It's hard to, you can read it like twice and still not exactly know what the company does, because they're not willing to just take a position on something, right? They're not willing to like stake out or plant a flag. Assertive is just kind of like, this is true, so I stand on it. Right? Just simple declarative sentences. You almost always want to use assertive in all kinds of marketing. Even in, it doesn't matter what you sell. Like people want to relax into certainty. Readers, especially if they don't know you, want to relax into certainty immediately to make themselves comfortable so that they can like settle in and read a few more seconds and a few more seconds. And so if you're over in don't hurt me, you're making them do too much of the work to figure out if you're for them and what you're saying is right, and whether you even have enough confidence in what you're telling them for them to have confidence in it. So you almost always want to live in assertive. It is the smallest part of the spectrum. And if you go too far with it, you veer into aggressive, which is very bad. But you kind of need to live in the assertive space. And don't be afraid to just like make simple declarative sentences. I do X, it works. People like it. They pay me for it. Assertive. Not loud even, just assertive. And then the other is almost everything that I come up when I get hired in, almost everything's down at level 1, which is informational, where people want to talk about themselves. Like, this is who we are and this is what we sell. And there's nothing wrong with informational. Let's say you have a website. The homepage should be aspirational, which is, you could be better or different. Like, read on, there's something here for you. Every other page really could be informational. At some point, once they buy into the aspiration, it's great. They're going to want details. Like what exactly are the specs on this? How much exactly will this cost me? How long will it take to get it? All that kind of stuff. So that's all informational and it's fine. But you don't lead with informational because it's not interesting inherently. And you're kind of like hoping that people will tell themselves a story about it. And you never want to rely on the reader to tell themselves a story. You want to at least prompt it. I will tell you that transformational is relatively rare. There are a handful of things that you see transformational. Um, Diets, beauty, fitness, and a lot of scammy stuff is in transformational. You could be new is a very psychologically alluring message, but it's where most scams live. If you get something and you find out, according to this person, there's a secret way to pick stocks and I could be a millionaire in a month. If only I had known this, so I better buy their special report. That's transformational kind of messaging. You don't get much of it. In B2B, pretty much the only thing right now that you would consider transformational is AI. They're talking about AI. This time next year, that will not be the case. This time next year, it's like, what do you mean you don't have an AI tool built into this? What the hell? My phone has an AI built into it, Pizza Hut has an AI built into it. Why don't you have an AI tool for this? And so, but for now, for another like 9 months or so, you'll still be able to talk about AI as being a transformational thing in whatever you offer or sell. But generally speaking, you want to live on aspirational. Aspirational is a really nice place to live. You're making everybody happy without lying to anybody. It's a nice place to be. All right. So then to pull it all together, there are like a handful of ways to go into this. And there's actually probably like dozens of ways to do this. But this is the thing that I try to do the most. If I can make this work, this works really well. I kind of imagine that there's somebody of the two people, today's reader is one of those characters. And then the other character is someone like today's reader, maybe like a respected peer or someone they really like, who's already living in the positive future that the other person who's now in the negative present, knows and likes, but they're not there yet. They're still. And what would that person say if they were in line at Starbucks waiting to get served? It's like, could I do this? Like, I live this way. I only work 4 hours a day now. I've never, ever been. I've never had a client where I would say something like that, right? But I never worry that the system's going to go down. I'm pretty sure that if I asked for X, they would give me X and Y because they're so good at customer service. Basically, these kind of sentiments. So you just imagine that someone who's already in the positive future is speaking backwards to the person who's in the negative present and just saying something almost as an aside that would explain that, like, it's great where I am, grass is greener, you should do that. That is the marketing story that almost everyone will give at least a few seconds of attention to. Normally, a few seconds of attention is all I need. And then from there, I can sort of earn it and earn it again and earn it again. But yeah, you write something that a friend or peer who's already in the positive future would say to their good friend who's in the negative present. It's both dumb and kind of cool. Okay, so a couple of takeaways for this. In a business to business kind of context, there are 4 ways to reset reality that get someone's attention in sort of like, they're going to have to pass this on to someone else at some point. One is, I'll use a really stupid example, which is milk. Okay, you're never going to sell milk. I've never sold milk. But so they said milk was healthy for us. Turns out it never was. Or milk's healthy, but soon it won't be. Regulations, they're going to be allowed to put chemicals in it. They've stopped refrigerating it the right way, whatever, right? X is true, but it's about to change, and you don't want to be playing musical chairs and standing when the music stops. So, pay attention for a little bit, and I'll help you like avoid that. And then the third one is milk's healthy, but not for you. You have green eyes. You're special. You're different. Your company's too small, too big, too young, too old. You don't sell to this market. It works for lots of people. It's not going to work for you. If you've tried it and failed, it's because you're not like those other people or other companies. You're special. What I sell is special just for you. Those are the 3 sort of reality breakers that work. They're reader centric. There's a lot of novelty. There's an implied urgency, but you're not trying to scare anybody. There's a fourth one, which is the one that's used in 99% of all the time and is by far the weakest one, which is we've just done something new. Sit still and we're going to tell you about it. Right? It relies only on novelty. There's no urgency, and it's not reader centric. It's speaker centric. So it's the weakest, but it's the easiest, laziest one to do. So that's the one you see almost everywhere. We've all been exposed to that at one point or another. New, you know. So there's I thought I would add this in because I came across it last week doing some research, and it's this. Okay, so there's two slides here. They're not in any order, but I did group that about a third of them are questions. Only a third of them are questions. These are the 21, not in any particular order, top initial hook lines for TikTok videos. Almost every video on TikTok that has more than 1 million views opens with exactly one of these 21. And it's the exact same thing. They basically break reality and then to get your attention, and then they'll talk to you about it. They're using the same thing that I came up with years ago, those 3 ways to reset reality, except like they've gone like way beyond it because it's all consumer, right? You can do a lot of stuff in consumer marketing you can't do in business marketing. But baby, like this on the left-hand side there, let's work our way up, right? My favorite lesson of 2024 is blah, 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 right? Or the third one up from that. Baby boomers have been lied to, that kind of stuff. They just open. It's the very first thing out of these folks' mouth. And it's only there to hook you long enough so you'll stick around for a few more seconds in the video. And then there's the final 5. I like the one, I'm constantly amazed by X. I'm constantly amazed by 5-year-olds. I'm constantly amazed by astronauts. I'm constantly amazed by the weather in Oklahoma. They work. Some of these have like literally tens of millions of views. And the thing is, you can find the exact same sentence used across many, 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 many videos, all with millions of views. If you want, I'll just send you this deck and you can have these because they don't exist anywhere except this one presentation to you guys. But I decided to list them because it's sort of crazy. You can see everything that I talked about, all the Stone Age brain stuff, right? All the safety question, all the impact for your future, all of your ease of use, all of your angle or any sort of like halo niche. It's breaking and resetting reality. It's all here. They all rely on at least one and usually 2 or 3 of those concepts. I like this one on the right-hand side in the middle. No, common belief is not happening, but you're not wrong either, right? That's like, so somehow they've broken reality, but also answered a safety question, right? But you're not wrong. No, your phone is not listening to you, but you're not wrong about your phone listening to you, right? It's like, it's all the same stuff. It's all Stone Age stuff. All right, I can leave just about anything on screen. I'm going to leave this one on screen because I'm done. But that's how you do it. Like in this case, they're hooking the attention, and then at the end of the video, what they're doing is they're sort of recapping, winding it down, explaining why you're safe, and then sort of moving you to, telling you as someone who's already in the positive future, what the negative, what you would say to the negative present, which is the viewer. It's all the same stuff. You see it everywhere. Once someone points it out, you can't not see it everywhere.
Hey, Dean, my
Yes,
thoughts
sir.
on this, and I so appreciate you doing this. I always feel like there's a fire hose coming from you every time we get a chance to chat. And I see Danielle's laughing down there because there's a lot of information here. My thoughts here is I'm thinking about we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And Shiva joined as well. 10 people here. Think about putting in breakout rooms, 3 breakout rooms, and asking them to talk about for 2 to 3 minutes, possibly some thoughts or ideas they have on this, and then bringing everybody back.
Especially anything you think I said that was wrong.
Oh,
Bring it
yes,
on.
yes. So, hey, if that sounds like a good idea, putting you in a breakout room, have you chat for 2 to 3 minutes and bringing you back, about some thoughts or ideas is open up for you. Would you mind giving me guys a thumbs up or a +1 in chat? We got good, good. If that makes sense, just throwing you in breakout rooms. Osnet, Carla, Lyle, Danielle. Good, good. And oh, good. Shiva's in a cab ride home. Hey, I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. We're going to bring you back in about 3 to 4 minutes. But our ask to you is, hey, what stood out to you from this conversation? And then we'll bring you back and just open up for an open chat session with Dean.
Oh, and before you go,
Yes,
on
Dean.
the right-hand side, the third one down is my favorite opening quote of the week, which is this lady started with, "I can't be the only person on," so she's talking about TikTok. "I can't be the only person on this app who didn't know that you can just take fruit off of trees." I'm not sure where she thought fruit came from, but like I'll never, I mean, as long as I live, I'm never going to forget that line.
8, 9,
I
10.
think she might be the only person who didn't know that you could just pull an apple off a tree, but I'll never forget that opening line. That's killer.
So Dean, I'm going to launch in breakout rooms for about 3, 4 minutes,
Sure.
and we'll bring you back. And we will talk to you guys soon. Have fun. Looks like everybody's joining us back in from the breakout room. Hey, thank you for coming back. And Karen, I apologize for dropping you in a room all by yourself with no one inside there, and shifting you over the other side. So
it was okay. I was working on my visual notes, but I was thrilled to get into the group. They were really wonderful.
Oh, wonderful. Hey, here, this is a thought right now. We almost think about this as office hours in some ways. Questions, thoughts, ideas that came from either you or your peers. And with that, I'm going to turn over to you and Dean. Feel free to ask questions. We have them for at least another 15 minutes or so. Dean and group, what are your thoughts or ideas that came from the discussion?
I'll share. In our group, we were talking about just how AI is somewhat concerning because it's built on popularity and not necessarily what's most right or what connects on a human level. And I think it'll probably improve over time, but for right now, it's kind of working from data instead of a niche. And so sometimes you have to use your brain to figure out if AI is actually helpful or if it's hurting you. Because one woman shared how she followed a lady and then all of a sudden she hired a copywriter. It didn't sound like her anymore. And she just started wondering, well, does this lady actually think this? Is she changed? And so there's kind of a disconnection there, and how story is important when you're selling, just because you have to provide something for people to connect with, not just data.
Yeah. Part of that is AI, and part of it is, I mean, I used to work with about a handful, 5 junior copywriters around the world. And I would do office hours with them every Monday, Monday morning, my time, for 2 hours. And I would work, they were all junior, and they all basically were content writers. I don't know if, like, for anyone who doesn't know the difference, um, all content writers are copywriters, but not all copywriters are content writers. If you like got a couple of buses and drove around your town and for some unknown reason kidnapped 100 random copywriters in your town and put them into a high school gym, and you say, okay, everybody who's a content writer, go in that corner, 95 of them are going to go to that corner. And that's because a lot of businesses need a lot of words written. So they're writing blog posts and social media posts, and they're ghostwriting articles. They're doing like all kinds of stuff. And AI is, especially for the ones who are kind of junior and we're relying on cost of living arbitrage. Like, they live in a cheap country. English is probably their second language, but you didn't need great English to write like most blog posts and so on, for most businesses around the world. And so yeah, it's just eating that entire like big layer of copywriters. And I don't even work with any of those 5 anymore. I don't do any content writing anyway. It's not what I do, right? Nobody needs Dean Waye in that pool with 95 other people, right? That pool is crowded enough. But the thing is, like, most of them, they write, the junior ones, they write like the AIs do, which is a sort of generic, kind of bland, a lot of hyperbole, a lot of sort of false friendliness, and so many exclamation marks. Right? And so, yes, when I look at, or people ask me, like, as far as like being a copywriter, like, am I worried about AI? If I'm worried for my friends who are junior, because they're getting decimated. And I worry for the profession as a whole in that content writers might be 95% of all copywriters, but they're 100% of all new copywriters. Like everyone starts there these days and has for the last 10 years. And so, that the kind of concept of, like really understanding like what makes someone tick or pays attention or, how to resonate with them and imagine that you're them and all that kind of stuff. The AI doesn't do any of that. But neither did these other like junior writers. And so, I mean, I don't know where, I'm going to sound like a jackass now, like I'm at the top of the profession or something, but I don't know where the Dean Waye of 15 years from now is going to come from, because that dude or lady is never going to get established and make enough money starting off in content writing over the next 5 years, because the cost that companies are willing to pay for that has dropped like a rock. So, if I was starting 15 years ago, I probably would have I started more than 15 years ago. If I started 15 years ago, I probably would have gone into copywriting, how to write blog posts for companies and like articles and stuff. And like, I could have, ultimately found a voice and a specialization, and I could have made, at least a modest living while I was improving my craft. But like those folks will never get started anymore.
It's painful. Dean, one of the things you talked about was the idea of a halo niche. I thought that was a powerful discussion, because it's one of the things that stood out to me when you're thinking about the halo niche is that if you do this really well, people think, oh, they're going to do this really well.
They can do stuff. Yeah. If you think about let's say all small businesses, all freelancers, all whoever, like all farming equipment manufacturers, whatever you want to do, right? Imagine that they're all filled into this 3-layer pyramid, where the widest and also by far the highest, lowest layer is filled up with companies who will not pick a niche. Like they will not like do an ultra hard focus on serving one kind of thing or doing one kind of thing. To them, that would they don't want to take the risk. It's leaving money on the table, but it also means they don't stand out, right? What do you guys do? Oh, I'll do whatever you want, right? There's no box in anyone's head for I'll do whatever you want as a company. It's just not there. And then one layer up from that, the second layer, which is a lot thinner and not as our companies are people who picked a niche, right? And there's 5 kinds of niches. There's who you serve, what you do, how you do it, where you do it, if you happen to be geographically sort of focused or centric. If you're a plumber, you probably only work in Chicago, right? You're not a national business if you're a plumber. And then the 5th one is the why niche, which I personally have a white hot hatred for, but because I see it in all these ad agencies where our mission is our belief is that people given the tools and the opportunity and the right can change the world, and like not one customer ever showed up looking for that. And so they blow their one chance at making an impression because they want to be like all of the other agencies who also say that kind of stuff, and none of them stand out. Ironically, marketing agencies are the hardest ones to differentiate and find without knowing someone there. It's crazy. Like they'll do it for other companies, but they can't do it for themselves nearly, hardly any of the time. And so, but that's the second niche, right? So you're going to want to pick 2 niches and combine them. So it's like who you serve and where you serve them, or what you do and who you do it for, or how you do something. By the way, how tends to be the most profitable niche. And so like you've got your own methodology, you've got your own approach. Almost every artist with talent fits into a how kind of niche, right? No one cares about the artist's motivation. Well, if you're like a collector or a serious buyer or whatever, you want to know like, okay, like that is amazing. And I don't mean from a craft point of view. It's just like, I can't believe how they did that. It's crazy. It's wonderful. Like, look at that mix of colors. And so, but normally you're going to pick any 2 of those and you're going to combine them. And that's like a niche, right? And then right above that, not nearly as common as it should be, it's quite rare, is the halo niche. And that's where, generally speaking, it's where you do something rare or exotic sounding or complicated. And so there just aren't a lot of people who are going to either can do it or are willing to do it or want to like ramp up and learn how to, complicated would be like complicated would be you're not just a mechanic who specializes in Japanese cars. You're a mechanic who specializes in like sports cars and Formula One kind of cars, right? Like extra complicated, extra rare. And so, but the thing is, as far as like, if he can do this, she can also do that. Then if someone comes to me, I don't write blog posts for companies, but if someone comes to me and I'm finished, you know, I'm working on their like overall messaging and like really gripping headline, and they say, by the way, like our CEO is going to be at this conference 6 weeks from now, and we'd like to like help support that by having like a signature blog post, like a really good one, not one that we're going to give one to the regular blog writers. And like, I might, if I like them and I'm willing to get past the like, boy, I hate writing blog posts kind of like thought in my head, like I might write it for them. They know that if I can write this other stuff, I can definitely write a blog post, and probably a really good one, as long as they don't try to make me do it more than once, and it's cool. But like, that's what I mean by, if they can do the upper stuff, they can definitely do. If he can do brain surgery, then he can do an appendectomy, right? If she can do heart surgery, she can definitely like take a look, you know, at you know, or reset a broken bone, right? That's like halo specialty: brain surgery, heart surgery, cardiologist. They can definitely do the general stuff. Whereas you don't assume that someone who does appendectomies all day, every day, could then go in and do brain surgery. It doesn't go the other direction. So that's the difference between a halo niche and a regular niche.
Dean,
Also,
one
if you have a halo niche, you can usually charge halo niche prices for regular work, right? If they convince me to write a signature blog post that the CEO is gonna, you know, most likely the CEO's name's gonna be on it, not mine, right? Then I'm charging them halo niche prices to do regular niche work, and they're okay with that.
You know, Dean, for everybody here who doesn't know Dean, Dean puts you put this blog post out, what, once a week? Not blog post, it was a little
Tuesdays and Thursdays, there's a short email, tiny
email.
stories.
Would you mind if I read the one you sent out earlier this week? I thought it was
Sure, go for it.
interesting. It says, "Oh, that emotion hurts," is what the title of the headline is, and then it says, "My pricing mentor, don't judge me, explained the difference between price disappointment and price surprise. When you quote someone your price and they sound disappointed, they're not disappointed in you. They're disappointed because they want it, but cost more than they hoped. If they think you charge more than it's worth, they're not disappointed at all. They're surprised." Different emotions. So when they're disappointed, that's not a cue to lower your price. And if they're surprised, but others aren't happy to pay that price, they're probably not for you. And he said, "This made me feel better. Hope that helps." You put that on Tuesday and Thursday, short little emails, and it makes me smile every time I read one of them. So
You'd be shocked how much time goes into making something so short. They all start off fairly long and are just like whittled down until, because it's my job to do 90% of the reader's work, right? You can't, this is the challenge of being my kind of copywriter. It's like, you can't do anything. I read this book once from a fitness kind of guru guy, not from a fitness point of view, but like from his business. And he said, one of the biggest and worst parts about being a fitness guru is that when I'm in a restaurant, I can never order dessert. If anyone saw me and took a picture and I'm like face down into a cheesecake, right? It's like, it's terrible PR. This is one of the things. In my case, I can never not write something that's and let it out that's really good, because I'm judged on the quality of, not all of us our work is what we also share with people, but in my case it is, and you get judged on it. So a lot of work goes into those very silly short little emails.
And it's funny when you said that, I saw Danielle light up, I saw Lyle Wire, Christina light up, all saying, yeah, and Karen lighting up saying, yep, it takes a lot of work to put something together that's succinct and that's crisp.
Does anybody think I was wrong about anything?
Here's a chance. Anybody, any thoughts or ideas for Dean? Anything that stood out to you?
Does anybody have a website?
Oh, Karen, yes.
Actually, I actually have a question for clarity, which was, I love the 4 questions, the 4 pieces from Why Are They Safe, Forget, Positive Future Inbox. Then you went on to the reset reality, and I understood what the bullet points are, but I somehow missed the the connection. I could absolutely use those first 4 questions to look at my web copy, 100% clear. I wasn't sure where I was supposed to be using the reset
You
reality.
use the reset reality ones in the same place that you'd use the TikTok openers, which is at the very beginning. I'll give you an example. Let's say you were going to give like a webinar or a talk. Okay. You would open first thing out of your mouth before you even introduce yourself. You talk about that reality breaker. Basically, what you're saying there is, I understand part of your reality. This is why it's so like reader centric. I understand part of your reality, just a small part of it, but I understand it better than you do, and it's broken. Now, stick with me for a few minutes, and we'll get you back into where it should be. It's the very first thing, just like the TikTok things.
Terrific. So that could be the lead on the homepage of the website, or like you said, it could be the talk or other things. Thank you for that clarification. Very helpful.
It's very helpful in it wouldn't necessarily be the headline on a homepage, because that's where you want to use the friend in the positive future is talking to the friend in the negative present. But as a title, as a subtitle, as a subhead, as the title of a blog post, as the opening line in a webinar or something, they work fantastic there for grabbing attention.
Oh, Christina, would you mind am I asking too much of you to pull on you to pull that thread from you, which you just put inside chat? And that sounds like that something resonated with you there.
Oh, okay. So it was earlier when Dean was talking about the fitness person who can't sit in a restaurant and eat dessert. And it just reminded me of the irony of our specializations. So you've got a plumber, but he's got a leaking tap. And you've got a builder and the house isn't finished. It's that irony within our specializations. And at the moment, I've just become certified. I'm an elephant rider. When you think that feelings are elephants and that you need to calmly work with them. And yet one day I found myself in a very vulnerable state, having a complete breakdown somewhere where I've never done that before. And as I sat in the car and reflected about it, I thought, oh gosh, there's an irony that I'm learning to sit well with my emotions. And then for some reason, I threw the toys out of the cot. So it's that whole irony of our specializations.
Yes. I hate road trips because I spend so much time in my work dealing with headlines that I just can't not try to mentally improve on the billboards. Even though there's no one to call and say, by the way, I've solved your billboard problem. Your headline is wrong. But if it said this, people would notice it. But there's no one to call. It just like goes away. Complete waste of mental energy, and I can't stop doing it.
Can I tell you a frustrating story from last night? So we have a total fireworks ban at the moment, region-wide. You cannot light fireworks because everything's dry. Last night we had really high winds, and someone was letting off fireworks. And so I called fire department and went, excuse me, and got told, well, actually, although there's a ban, we can't do anything about that. And I went, so if a fire starts, and she said, sure, we can come put that out.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got another slide. It wasn't appropriate for this one, but it talks about how all problems exist in somewhere on a 3-stage life cycle, which is prevention, mitigation, or suffering, right? So for instance, imagine like a car crash, right? Insurance and safety equipment and all that kind of stuff, driver training, that all belongs in prevention. So, and then, but the vast majority of everyone's attention and money is spent on mitigation. Like we wait until the problem, occurred. We either didn't notice it or we knew it was coming, but we hoped it wouldn't or whatever. And so now we spend an enormous amount of time and money to try to like mitigate the effects of the problem. And then, and so that's like, that's the emergency room. That's the, the body shop repair place. And then the final stage is the suffering. And that's like hospice care, right? Or chronic pain. And having to treat chronic pain, and everything belongs in one of those 3 stages. And it doesn't really matter which one your business focuses on addressing, as long as you understand which one you're addressing. There are lots of businesses, especially smaller ones, that start out and they think they're addressing one stage, but they really should have been addressing a different stage of their customer's problem. And so they end up like, not doing quite as well. It also helps with your advertising. Like you don't do for someone in someone who's dying and in hospice care from a terrible car accident, you don't try to advertise to them that, like, you need to make a decision on this right now, right? Or the consequences would be dire. It's like, bro, the consequences are dire now. I don't need more pressure like this. It doesn't matter to me, kind of stuff.
It looks like Jason has his hand raised. Jason, it sounds like you want to add something?
Just some questions. This is really great. Thanks so much, Dean. A couple questions. So Casey knows I apologize too much, so I'm gonna apologize in
I
advance
didn't know
here.
we had Canadians on this call.
I'm not Canadian, but thank you. Is there like an order of operations to the reality breaker and then the sort of looking back from the future simple copy? Does it go reality breaker, simple sentence? Like, is that the order? Is there a sequence?
Normally, it's for two different. I understand that. Essentially, what I write is the very first message. Like someone will say, like, we want to tell people this and we want to tell them that one. That's great. Only one thing can be said first. And so part of my job is like helping them figure out what should be said first, what will get someone's attention, and then how to phrase it. So it's two kinds of first messages, and it's normally very context driven. So the safety question, the ease and forgetting about the problem because I'm taking care of it for you, like the dishwasher scenario, right? The impact of creating a positive future for somebody, and whatever the fourth one was, I'm totally blanking on it. Right, those factor into the first message for something like a headline, maybe an email, right, an ad, something like that. And then the reality breakers generally are the first thing that's going to be said in a kind of a live context, or a not first, but not first for everybody, kind of like a blog post or an article, something like that. So so the reality breakers would go for like one sort of like set of first ever comms, and then the safety question and all the others go to the other first comms.
Oh, so it's mostly like it's a menu option. It's really more contextual than that.
Yeah, it's all about the context.
Got it. Got it. And then when we talk about organizational niches, and you're talking about that wide band where people don't choose niches.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm asking a dumb question, that's okay. Maybe not why, but what are the impediments to getting organizations to that level of clarity? Is it just, I mean, Casey has told me a bajillion times, it's fear.
It's fear.
Got it. Okay, it's fear. Got it. Okay.
The single biggest factor is fear. It's that the fear of loss is too compelling. And so you can tell someone over and over and over again that, like, the companies that niche down and focus and either go wide or go deep, but in a particular area, like they have an easier time with almost everything, right? They have an easier time being remembered. They have an easier time benefiting from word of mouth. They have an easier time not having to spend as much money on their marketing and advertising efforts. They have an easier time closing a sale. They have an easier time doing everything. But to get to the easy positive future, you have to stop staring at your own negative present, which is, I never have enough clients. I'm worn out because I'm doing this project and this is a different project with different stuff in it, but I got to do that because, I don't want to lose that client. And like, you just can't get them out of that. They stare at their own negative present and won't listen to reason about the positive future of just niching down on something. That's the Stone Age brain, right? I mean, its number one job is to keep us, we're so attuned to threats that, everyone here has been sort of driving and was sort of like in that zenned out mode. And then what, right? Something like came at you, saw something out of the corner of your eye, like your brain never stops. Everyone here has been, just sort of relaxing. And then you hear like something, it's like, what was that? Like, no matter how deeply engrossed you were in the movie or the book, it's like, I'm over. Right? Everyone here, my God, right? If the wrong noise occurs while you're having sex, your brain will, like, survival will take over and say, wait, did you hear that? Like it's so finely tuned and so predominant that it cannot be overridden, except usually with drugs or something. Or exposure, like repeated exposure or something.
Yeah, so true. Dean, there was a question. Karen had a question about your book, the book you have. And
More of a booklet, but yeah.
Yeah.
What was the question? Did I miss
My
it?
question,
Did I talk over?
Do you have a book coming out, and when is it coming? And is it more of what we're talking here?
Oh no, it's available now. You can have it for free.
Oh,
Yep, it's at winstonwrites.com/book.
Oh, it's like in your title. And then you have actually in the title your name, right?
Yeah, it's on every slide in the lower right.
And it's actually, I printed out a while back, and I think a lot of the details in here are laid out in there. You actually, if I'm correct,
Yeah, a lot of the concepts. Basically,
yeah.
it's essentially a book about first messages, and it uses headlines as the sort of mechanism for explaining it. It explains why great ones are great, and why everything else didn't work.
Oh, thanks, Amanda. Thank you.
Yep.
Awesome.
Link is in there. Yeah.
And Dean, you said, so I know it's after 7, about 10 after 7. And normally we go to about 7 or 7:30, but
Sure.
you did say something about, does anybody have a website?
Does anybody have a website? I'm going to show you something that I think is pretty routine, but a lot of people tell me it's pretty weird.
Dean, are you saying you would like to have somebody to share the website?
Yeah,
on
who's brave
screen?
enough to let me look at their homepage?
First one to type it in gets and by the way,
Emily.
For example, Dean is my LinkedIn profile. Dean wrote that about 3 years ago. He's written the LinkedIn profile for my mother. I'm sorry, for my wife. I was Freudian. For my best friend, and for a lot of people.
I was 40, and I was trying to remember when I'd met your mother. Pretty sure I have not met your mother.
Oh, Taylor Training. Oh, good. Priority Visions. Dean, you I guess Karen's first was up. PriorityVisions.com was the first one that came up.
Whoa. It loads very fast. I like that, given how much graphics information there is. Okay. So,
Do you want me to share, Dean, or you want to share? What are your thoughts on this?
oh, I'm sorry. I thought I was sharing, but I'm not. Am I not? I gotta like change the share to Chrome. Sorry
Yep.
about that. Can you see now?
Yep, we got it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So in that booklet, it talks about the difference between a dumped headline, a constructed headline, and a felt headline. Okay. So a dumped headline, this is not a dumped headline. Well, kind of. But a dumped headline puts almost all the work on the reader to figure, it's just a blah, right? And you find them everywhere. They're very common. And then a constructed headline takes on some of the reader's work so that the reader doesn't have to figure out what's being offered. They only have to figure out whether it's applicable to them, like whether they're interested in it. And then a felt headline is it evokes a story in the reader, like in like fractions of a second, and puts them into an imaginary positive future, and without saying really much of anything at all. And its job is to convey an emotion with almost no effort on the part of the receiver. And so this is kind of a constructed headline, except it's very jargony. Like, who is this? Say hello.
who is the target audience?
No, who is this yours, Karen?
Yeah, that's mine.
Okay. And so if you had a client who had used your service lives in the positive future and loves it, right? Like life is so much better now. And is talking to a friend who's only just discovered you today and isn't even quite sure what's going on. What would that future friend, positive future friend say to a human being as a conversational kind of phrase?
We found some great ways to do better, and we know what to focus on.
What else? So it helps them discover their ideas, or it helps them communicate it more persuasively, or both.
We learned more about what's happening in the world so we could run our organization more effectively. I wouldn't say it that way. I think people look to me for new insight and focus.
Okay.
We're looking at things differently, and we know what's important to us. And so we're focusing on the things that make a difference instead of the things that don't. And by the way, I will be asking several of my clients several questions from tonight very shortly to see exactly what they would say.
It's making me, let me see, here we go.
How are you able to edit her?
Magic.
No.
I am in awe of your power.
I'm not even sure that's accurate, but
Oh, I like that.
It's close enough.
take a screenshot. I usually charge $1,000 for that, so it's yours for free.
Terrific.
Who else has got one?
You gotta pay the $5 to show up.
I didn't even get that. All right, let's see. Tailored training. Training companies are always the most fun.
But I cheated because my website's over 20 some years old. So just about, 20 some years old.
You're not kidding. This looks like, what was the name of that Microsoft tool that people used to use back in the 90s?
Oh, this is, but this is hard coded.
Wow, it's actual HTML. There's like an index that HTML here.
HTML4, yes, that's HTML4. I spent a lot of time.
Well, I mean, you don't need to it's working for you, I guess, right?
Well, I'm internal consultant now, but this is my just in case.
Yeah, you don't have a headline. Yeah, there's nothing for me to work on here, but you don't that's okay. Welcome to back when people used to because it's kind of a big thing that you could come to their web. This is awesome. This is like looking at the Smithsonian. I love it. Look at that. That's awesome.
Well, evidently I better get my $1,000.
My God, if it had a view counter, little speedometer, odometer thing on the bottom, that would have been like chef kiss. Right?
Missing, right? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have anything to do here because there's no headline to work on. Is there any more, or are we done? No one else brave enough?
Flavor Graphics.
Flavor Graphics. Okay. If I just click it, it's going to open Safari, and this is a Chrome plugin, a little free one that lets me change the text, so I have to put it in Chrome. Except for the into better visuals, I do the same thing. Why is it so small? The headline, I mean, it's quite small relationally to the rest of the. Okay.
It's small because I had an animation around it, and then the animation broke, and I never updated the size.
Okay. Tell me what you do.
I do.
Who you do it for?
I do those 3 services you see there: live event illustration, so like articles and books, and then animated videos, like explainer videos. We mostly work with solopreneurs or people with small teams, and then we also do giant corporation stuff. So kind of both small and large.
Emily, I'm jealous of your handwriting. It's beautiful.
I tell once in a while, I say, like, don't fall in love or fall in hate. But sometimes you just need to get the concept out first and then fix it. I don't love this, but it looks like it would be a fun one to work on. See, it doesn't capture, I think like your leading one here, your halo niche would be the event illustration.
Mm-hmm.
Because if she can do that, she can do the other stuff, basically, right? It's a definition of a halo niche almost.
Mm-hmm.
For participants, readers, and viewers. Ooh.
Oh, nice.
I like this. This is,
That's better.
Well, you're impressing all of us.
that even in real time, Dean, that even in real time is something almost like it's happening. You can see it happening.
Yeah.
It's like AI, except I'm a person.
A lot of people have said that, yeah. Like, to me, they've said, it's like watching ChatGPT, just way slower.
Your ideas can be pictures, even in real time. That's brilliant.
Okay, so this is Dean. So this is, I would say, like, this is like you have 3 levels, right? So this is like a felt
Yeah, that's
headline.
a felt. Like they'll
Yeah,
tell
so definitely
like,
a felt.
it's almost
headline.
a felt. Like we could if I had more time, we could turn
Yeah.
this, it would tell themselves a story.
Mm-hmm. But this is already, you know, from the pictures idea, pictures in real time. You know what I'm saying? The 3 words.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm just playing around. Like, I like this part better, but it makes this one worse. I mean, technically, it's not wrong.
Ideas in pictures, even in real time. Ah.
Would it be weird to say like on stage in a book or in a video, like, or does it just like explain
As a
too much?
subhead, you could, but you want to leave the headline as short as possible because you want to communicate something as quickly as possible that draws them down the page.
Mm.
People try
Okay.
a headline and a lot of this stuff is like a rope bridge, right? It will get them from one side to the other. It will not hold much weight. And if you put too much in it, it breaks and they don't make any more progress.
Emily, I almost had a thought here of like Dr. Seuss. Your ideas can be pictures, even in real time. Then in the subheader, in a book, in a room, in a closet, you know, in a book, in a room.
You can draw it in a book. You
Yes.
can draw it in a nook.
Yes, yes, yes. Hey,
So
Jason.
anyway, that's that.
Jason, looks like
Thank
you had
you.
your hand. Thank you.
I had
So,
a
Jason,
question.
you had your hand is up. Sorry.
Yeah, I had a question about the felt headline, Dean.
Uh-huh.
So I was at the the National Gallery of Art a couple of weeks ago, and I was taking a look at that Rothko exhibit, and it's really, really good. And I've known Rothko's work and been a fan of it for a while. And then I was looking at it actually for like the first real time, actually really learning about Rothko. And I was like, oh, these paintings are actually mind prompts. Like you look at it and it like, what makes it so powerful is that it's so abstract that it creates a whole story in your head. I guess
Right.
what I'm wondering is when you're making a headline or let's just stick with headlines for now. When you're making any, I guess what I'm saying is, are all 3 headline categories basically the third category? Are all headlines basically attempts at making felt headlines? Or is there actually any distinction between the third category and all the other categories?
Yeah. So, I mean, the first headline is just the laziest, like no thought put into it. Just going to say something, right? So, I mean, like, no writer would ever write a dumped headline and expect to get paid for it. It's terrible. But the felt headline and the constructed headline. I mean, my site from time to time and lots of pages on it use constructed headlines. You know, they have a purpose. They offer a clarity. They offer clarity without story. Right. So they're, I mean, a little more clinical.
So
And then the felt headline is the story at some. It's not that it's not that a felt headline doesn't have as much clarity. It's that you have less control over the clarity because it's happening in the story that the reader makes up.
oh, okay.
So you're swapping clarity for emotion, because any sort of like the saying is like, you don't persuade with text, you persuade with subtext, right? And the way that you get subtext, there's a few ways to get subtext, but one of the main ones is you say A and you say C, and the reader will construct B, because we can't help but try to make sense out of things that are next to each other. And if B, if you're able to prompt it in a way so that they construct B, they'll believe B because they made it up, right? And so people are persuaded with the subtext, and the point of the subtext is that you can convey or hint at it, then the reader constructs it, and because it's theirs, in quotes, like they have an affinity for it, and they're more likely to be persuaded by it and believe that it's true.
Thank you.
So that's kind of a felt headline's job, is to persuade with subtext. You give up a little bit of control, but the reader is more likely to like have a strong opinion in your favor.
Understood.
They're a lot of fun to write. They just take some noodling.
Dean, that puts us at 7:25
Yes.
Eastern Standard Time. And I was thinking about closing down and creating office hours, and people can stay around. Dean, you can stay around. People can stay around as long as Dean has time. What I'd like to do before we transition to office hours, and put quote office hours around this, if you could think of one or two words that describes how this event went for you, and type them in chat. One or two words for describe how this event went for you, and type them in chat. What are those 1 to 2 words that describe what you experienced or went through your head over the last hour and a half or so? Just 1 or 2 words. Awesome, mind-opening, and insightful, challenging, inspiring, practical. Dean is but without a doubt practical. Reframing. Oh, it's powerful, Daniel. It's reframing. Awesome, mind-blowing, insightful, challenging, inspiring, practical, insightful, and curiosity, and reframing. And with that, everyone, thank you for coming to NovaScribe. And outstanding. Amanda threw outstanding on there. Wonderful. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you, everyone, for coming to NovaScribes. And we're going to transition to office hours.
Before we go, one more
yes,
thing.
Yes.
Just that it wouldn't be the worst idea. This is like more of a felt headline. You could take this and substitute it for the main headline.
Neat.
That's a position. That's assertive.
Words are real. Pictures are reality. That's, I hate to say this, Emily, I am stealing from your website. This is, that is brilliant. That is brilliant. Words are real. Pictures are reality. Everyone, thank you for coming tonight. We're going to transition off to office hours, and awesome. Thank you, everybody. Stop the recording.